morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our second electronic mortgage closing conference. Last year's event was such a great success that we knew we didn't want to call this year's off, even though we can't get together in person. I appreciate everyone's flexibility in this new era of Zoom and WebEx and all the other digital meeting platforms. Ozzy, Ken, and the conference committee have a packed agenda for you. I can tell you what you will not see over the next 2 days in these sessions. You will not see an electoral map of the nation and trying to figure out the puzzle to get to 270. We will not break in with any key race alerts. What you will have is a powerhouse lineup of major players in the mortgage industry. We have a number of banks represented and some of the major players in the financial industry, like Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta. We have title companies, attorneys, realtors, and many others represented today. We hope you learn a lot and make some important connections. 2020 has thrown a lot of curveballs at us because of the ongoing global pandemic, including planning this major virtual conference for the first time. If you would have told me last year that 70 to 80% of the Secretary of State staff would be teleworking from March to today, I would have said you're crazy. Yet we have adapted. Our service has not dropped off to the public. While I wish we were all together in person, I am thrilled that we can still get a lot accomplished remotely. As Peter Gwaltney indicated, 2020 has forced everyone to re-envision and rethink how we provide services remotely. We had to do it at the Secretary of State's office, and all of you have had to do it as well. Fortunately, we live, work, and do business in a state that has the legal infrastructure that enables us to be on the forefront of electronic mortgage closings. Peter and the NC Bankers Association have been a valuable part of our advisory committee, and I appreciate his remarks and introduction. Let me also thank Ozzy Stallworth on my team for his leadership as the chair of the North Carolina Electronic Mortgage Advisory Committee, and Ken Sykes as the vice chair. These two are the co-pilots of this innovative and important initiative for North Carolina. Their energy is boundless and their passion for this work is infectious. A big shout out to the committee that planned the conference, including Ken, Ozzy, Beth Eller, Kelly Arrington, Laurie Clark, and Allison Perry. Navigating through the world of virtual conference planning is new for a lot of us, so thank you for picking up the ball and rising to the challenge. And to the rest of the advisory committee and other stakeholders who we engage with routinely on this effort, we would not be in the position we are without all of your hard work, ideas, and energy. This morning, when it comes to the status of eClosings in North Carolina, the State of the Union is uplifting. In aerodynamics, in order for an airplane to get lift, it has to have motion. Over the last 20 years, we have set into motion the legal infrastructure it takes to be a leader in electronic mortgage closings. And now in North Carolina, e-mortgages are taking flight. Right now, we are at a 20,000-foot elevation and still ascending while other states haven't even gotten off the ground. North Carolina is first in flight, and we have been a hotbed of innovation since the Wright brothers took off from the sand dunes of the North Carolina coast and changed the world, the way we conduct business, tourism, and travel. Still today, we remain a leader in many innovative industry clusters and programs like the e-mortgage closing initiative. In fact, in 2019, we were recognized as a finalist for an Innovative Government Program Award from the National Association of Secretaries of State for our work in e-closings. And the press headlines about our work say that North Carolina is blazing a trail of e-closings, and they call our work an e-mortgage revolution. We are fond of saying that this is one of the longest overnight success stories. Our work started 20 years ago to build the legal framework through legislative means. This foresight gives North Carolina a competitive advantage in making this monumental transformation. That legal infrastructure is the solid foundation we needed to make electronic mortgage closings a reality. This legal infrastructure required e-notarizations, e-recording, and e-signatures. All three elements are important, and because of the significance of each, other states are in a scramble mode to pass electronic notarization laws. Beyond these three elements, the work was multifaceted, requiring partnerships and relationship building. We worked closely with the Office of the State Controller to identify and acquire an electronic signature solution for use by every state agency. This was a first. I have worked for years with the Registers of Deed Association to provide education and training related to electronic recordings. We currently have 87 of North Carolina's 100 counties performing e-recordings. We have been offering CLE programs to those in the legal community since 2007 in an effort to ensure that they were informed regularly about the technological advances and how our e-commerce laws would impact various enterprises, including the mortgage industry. Even though we have been hard at work for the past 2 decades, the formation of the North Carolina Electronic Mortgage Closing Advisory Committee, with the leadership of Ozzie Stallworth and Ken Sykes, has been instrumental in helping us put this plan into practice. It gave us the boost we needed for liftoff. There have been some major landmark events along the way. North Carolina's first fully electronic mortgage closing happened on a refinance and then a new purchase in 2017 with North State Bank. This was a defining moment for our initiative, and we have not looked back. Since then, there have been thousands of e-closings in North Carolina, but we've only touched the tip of the iceberg. With a tremendous amount of work from the advisory committee in 2019, the Secretary of State's office published the North Carolina Electronic Mortgage Closing 101, a white paper. It is likely the first exhaustive how-to guide in the country on what is needed for major mortgage industry stakeholders to launch an e-closing program. Last December, we joined the executives of Truliant Federal Credit Union to announce that it was the first credit union in North Carolina to offer complete e-closing services on mortgages. This represented a major expansion of the e-closing initiative. Truliant serves more than 250,000 members with 30 member financial centers in North Carolina. Also, last year, we sold out our first ever electronic mortgage closing conference and are so glad that you're with us here today for the second one. You may be thinking, why is the North Carolina Secretary of State's office involved? Don't you do elections? The short answer is no. We are one of about 10 Secretary of State offices in the country that don't conduct elections. That's a separate agency, the North Carolina State Board of Elections. I'll be the first to tell you we probably wouldn't be holding this conference today if I was conducting elections. Our department is North Carolina's primary agency for business formation and financial capital formation, as well as administrator of North Carolina's Electronic Commerce Act. And we oversee the training and certification of notaries public in North Carolina, including e-notaries. So this initiative is a priority for us and groundbreaking for North Carolina. I like to say that this initiative is a win-win-win. Yes, that's 3 wins. First and foremost, it's a win for consumers. And an e-closing is much more an efficient closing process that is easier to understand. None of the safeguards you expect from a closing are missing. What is missing is just the giant stack of paper. A closing that could take several hours can now take 20 minutes for the consumer, and they can review their documents days in advance instead of showing up and seeing the documents for the first time and not having a clue what they are signing. It's a win for the banking and business sector. A closing for a financial institution that could take 50 days to process now can take 30 days or less. And it's a win for those of us in government because the transactions are quick and secure. And it can lead to the lowering of the cost of doing business and making North Carolina's real estate costs even more competitive. In the age of technology, the demand is growing to streamline the paper-based process in an easier and faster electronic closing. The Secretary of State's efforts to move most of our paper process to online filing over the last 2 decades was never more important than it was this year during this COVID crisis. These streamlined and more efficient processes, along with a huge amount of staff dedication and persistence, allowed us to help tens of thousands of businesses position themselves for federal loan assistance. In fact, on the Easter holiday, our staff helped more than 1,000 businesses alone in one weekend. For the Secretary of State staff, this was the equivalent of our hurricane mode. These businesses needed help, and they needed it quickly. Another little known fact is the accelerated and historic rate of new business creation filings since the summer. Our staff has helped tens of thousands of new businesses get their start in the last few months. This is a testament to that innovative spirit in North Carolina that I mentioned earlier. Little did we know the true value of the timing of our electronic mortgage closing initiative until we were hit with this global pandemic, complete with stay-at-home orders and social distancing. At the Secretary of State's office, we took two significant steps to help keep vital economic transactions like real estate closings moving forward, while keeping consumers and those performing the closings as safe as possible. First, with the community college system shutting down classes, including notary and e-notary classes, we quickly developed a one-time free online e-notary course for attorneys, paralegals, and current notaries. Before the online e-notary course began, there were approximately 1,850 e-notaries in the state. Now we have more than 3,300 e-notaries who have been sworn in. So our e-notaries are up to the challenge for more and more electronic closings. During this time, we also work closely with the community college system to develop online notary courses and online e-notary courses to go along with their in-person instruction, which has started back up, but under smaller class size scenarios. We also work closely with many stakeholders and with the Governor and General Assembly to pass the emergency video notarization law. We work quickly but diligently to make sure all types of transactions were covered, including the traditional transactions that still require a wet signature, electronic video notarization, and we also put out social distancing guidelines for transactions that still needed to be conducted in person. This work with stakeholders continues as North Carolina moves into the new frontier of a remote environment. We are aware of concerted efforts by national entrants to have uniformity across states at the expense of some state programs, including ours that are more robust. Let me say that we are working diligently to make sure that any future legislation the Secretary of State would be a part of has all the hallmarks of safety, security, reliability, and integrity that transactions in North Carolina demand, and that builds on the legacy of trust in our commerce that we have long stood on, which makes North Carolina a preferred location to invest. Our strong notary laws have served us well, especially to help protect North Carolina businesses and consumers from some of the excesses and downright fraudulent behavior that other states saw in the 2008 mortgage crisis that was a major contributor to the national economic recession. We are committed to embracing the future of remote transactions, while assuring the reliability of transactions through our traditionally strong protections of business and consumers. We are working with very talented people to get it right the first time. Over the last 20 years, we have built a sturdy and robust foundation of reliable transactions that has served North Carolina well to this point. It's critical to build on that sound legal infrastructure and develop new legislation, rules, and standards that will keep us in the forefront of electronic mortgage closings for the next 20 years. As I said at the outset, we need motion to give us lift. In order to keep rising to the challenges our consumers, the financial industry, the real estate industry, and our state face, we need to continually add to that foundation with new capabilities that will take us into the next era of transactions. We have the plan in place. Now it's up to you to jump into action to help us build an even more vibrant e-commerce culture across this great state and the nation. As the Wright brothers clearly understood, and I firmly believe today, the sky is the limit for us in North Carolina when it comes to our eClosing initiative. Thank you again for your participation over the next 2 days. I hope you learn a lot. As I close and turn it over to Ozzie Stallworth, I would be remiss if I did not mention one of our other landmark achievements for the eClosing initiative. Just a couple of weeks ago, Ozzie was selected from more than 400 nominees to receive the 2020 Governor's Award for Excellence in Efficiency and Innovation for his work in advancing the eClosing initiative. I was proud to make the nomination. As the Governor's Award for Excellence is the highest honor a state employee may receive for dedicated service to the state and the people of North Carolina, the award recognizes accomplishments and actions that are outside of the usual scope of their job duties. Ozzy's leadership and passion for the development of this initiative and the legal infrastructure to make it work has propelled North Carolina into becoming a national leader in eClosings. He's a valued leader of my team, and he is more than willing to share his wisdom and ideas with other key partners across North Carolina and the nation. Ozzy will be the first to tell you it takes a team to make all this happen. So a big thank you to all of you who have made this recognition possible. His work truly defines and represents what the Governor's Award for Excellence embodies. Now I'll turn it over to Ozzy to close out the portion of this session. Enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday next week. Stay safe, and God bless North Carolina.